Hello, hello. Let's open up chat. Okay, so this week we are just going to go through a couple of agent tools and essentially kind of discuss what a tool is, how to set it up, how to use it, and also how you can access it. I did add this into a bundle or kit, and you should be able to actually, let's see where we can actually, is there a way that we can add the bundle so people can actually install it and follow along if they want to? Let's see. Maybe I can put it here. So yeah, feel free to jump onto that bundle, and this one can be somewhat interactive, and you can follow along with it on a computer or from wherever you're watching from.
Yeah. By the way, yeah, maybe quick intro.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah. Well, no. Yeah, this is John from Taskade, co-founder CEO. Narek, go ahead as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Narek. I'm from Taskade's customer success and community lead. So yeah, I've done a lot of these, so I completely forgot that sometimes we have newer people joining us.
Yeah. But I think yeah, it's cool. We started off with just getting to the point with the link.
Mhm.
We are calling it slash bundle as the link right now, but I think from the product side, we're gonna simplify it. Just call it Taskade Kits or AI Kits. So might be easier.
Yeah.
But there's going to be another live stream next week, just going step by step on building the entire kit as well.
Yeah, and I think what we can do is I'll just kind of hop into sharing my screen, and then from there we can just kind of go over it. Let
Cool.
me, I'm gonna hide that link. Okay, share my screen. Let me bring this to the side over here. Okay, so, well, I mean, first off, when you go to bundles, you'll be able to access this link. This is what you'll be presented with if you're trying to install it. First things first, if you're trying to follow along, you'll see something like this. All you're going to do is press install bundle, and then you're going to choose where you want to add this. So I already have all this in my Taskade folder, but the idea behind this is specifically for client related workflows. So I'll kind of dive into that in a sec. But essentially, install it, add it, and then feel free to follow along. First things first, you're going to see a README in this bundle, similar to whenever you're installing any sort of software, you'll see a README. Basically, what's included in it, you have a client intake agent, and then we have a custom agent tool for sending status reports, and then also one for creating projects with your client details. And I have a project included here that's referenced within these automations and is titled Go to Market Strategy. And it'll tell you how it's set up, and it'll give you a quick overview of how this tool works. But essentially, to give you a conceptual overview, if you ever want to send status reports regarding a specific project on like specific tasks, so you want to know which tasks are in progress, you want to send that over to someone, or you want to send it over to stakeholders, whatever it is, then what you can do is you can essentially use this agent tool, and based on the status that you provide it, so for example, blocked, in progress, not started, you'll be able to find all the tasks in that project and then send it out to whatever email address you specified in this prompt as well. So this is the project. If I go to market strategy right here, you could see I have a project with a whole bunch of different statuses over here. And I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible, but you can make this even more personalized for your use case as well. But you could see that I have different tasks. So, for example, market research, product development, branding, and messaging. And then within each one of these, I have a set of tasks underneath it. Now, the status for each one is either not started, in progress, blocked, needs review, or done. And you can also put an empty status as well. Now, the way this automation works is essentially it will find all the tasks that have a status assigned to it based on the status that you prompted with in the AI agent. So, For example, if I go to AI agents, I do client intake agent, you'll simply be able to say something along the lines of send a status report, nareg at taskade.com. And then it'll ask me for this. I can just say none of them. And I can leave it as not specified, or I can just do delete that and press approve. And then from here, I will receive an email with all the tasks that have any sort of status associated with it. But basically, that's giving you an overview of how you can access it. And now I'll just jump into how you can set one of these up for yourself and what you'll find in the bundle as well. So when you go to automations, whichever workspace or folder you installed your bundle or kit in, you're going to go to the automations tab, and then you'll see something that says status report. You can click on that. Now, whenever you're creating a custom agent tool, it essentially allows you to prompt your AI agent and then have it run through a workflow for you. And when you click on it, you'll see this is a trigger. So I'm just actually going to rename this. So we'll say trigger agent tool. I'll save the changes here. So when you're setting up your blank automation, you'll be able to see a trigger that says agent tool. And within your agent tool, you'll see an option that says parameters. Parameters are the data points that you want the AI to actually extract from your prompt. So whenever it's essentially the conditions for triggering this agent tool or workflow to even happen in the first place. So when this happens, when there's an email and status detected in the prompt, I want you to run through this automation. And first thing that we use is branch. And with the branch, you basically say, depending on what it is, I want you to run through a specific set of workflows, right? So, for example, I say in this branch path, if the status in the prompt is equal to in progress, I want you to run through this specific series of steps. So I want you to find all the tasks with in progress as a status. Then I want you to turn the search results from that find tasks action into a list. And then I want you to send the status report email for in progress tasks. And you can see it's essentially the same for the other steps as well. But the only defining characteristic here is that you can use comparisons. So you are saying, based on these conditions, and you could see I chose status over here. So if the status in the prompt of the agent tool contains, and I use contains because it's more flexible as opposed to exactly matches, contains in progress, then I want you to trigger these series of steps. And the first step is going to be find all tasks in my go to market strategy project. And you are going to find the ones that has a status field that exactly matches the status of in progress. So you remember the custom fields that we had before. Oops, not this one. Let me open this. So the custom fields we had in this project over here, it's not started, in progress, blocked, needs review, and done. It's the same custom fields here. So I'm basically saying find all the tasks in my project that match these fields right here. So status in progress. Then you're going to take that and you are going to turn it into a list. So I'm going to say for the current item task content, I want you to, for each one of these items in that list, I want you to list the task content, the status, and the link to the project as well. So whenever I'm sending it an email, it's easy for me to click on it. I could see the status from the get go, easy. And then this one, you just have to put new line. Then next step, we'll do send an email. And the two is going to be the email that we provided in our prompt originally. The subject, I put it as status report in progress tasks. And the result is going to be the result of turning the search results from find tasks into a list. And we essentially repeat that for each one of the scenarios that we have. So if it's in progress, we run through that flow, find all the in progress tasks, send it out. If it's not started, find the ones that match not started, send them out. And then if the status is blocked, send them out. Same workflow. And then the next thing is your fallback. So whenever you're using any sort of branching, branches always have fallbacks. They're the default. So if everything else doesn't match, so if the status in the prompt isn't blocked and it's not started and it's also not in progress, then you go through this. This is the default. And for this one, what I've done is I basically said, find all the tasks where the status is just not empty. And this is kind of a hack because what you can do, if the status is not empty, it's going to find all of the ones that already have it filled out. And this also avoids headings. So you won't have that included into your report. And then it'll turn that into a list. And then you'll be able to send it as a status report as well. So that's how the status report one works. Let me go back here. And I've basically detailed most of this in the README over here as well. Let me know if this is helpful, if I should or if I shouldn't do more of these READMEs in the future, because it did take some time, but if it's helpful, I will be happy to do it. So yeah, this kind of just explains conceptually how the tool is set up. And then towards the end, I even have the flow set up as well, defining what the trigger is, the action, and then the pathways for each branch. So I can actually do path right here, path, and we'll add it here too, just so it's easier to see. And then it'll give you the actions as well. So if anyone wants to see how I set it up and they want to change whatever they want on their end, more than happy to reference this and then use it for creating your own stuff. So that's the first one. I'm gonna go back here. And then the second one is a bit different from the status report in the sense that it's for creating client project details. And what this is essentially you can retrofit this to anything else really. But the idea is that you have two parameters. So whenever I provide my agent, I'm going to rename this to trigger because it's easier to see.
Did you drop a link for that? Sorry.
It's included in the bundle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I kind of referenced the idea of like a README in like, when you install like any sort of application or like even on GitHub, there's like a README file and stuff. So I was just like, maybe I can do something like that for a bundle.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea because initially when we set up the share link, right, for the Taskade bundles or AI kits, I think we're
Hmm.
gonna call it after this week. But initially we were thinking just relying on a description field, right, that you
Yeah.
added. But I think it actually makes a lot of sense to also include this once you install it into your Taskade workspace to have this just essentially zipped right inside of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was like it was cool because like I didn't test out whether I can like link some of the stuff there and then whether that would link across. Um I'll have to test that out later, but uh main thing was just like I noticed that I sometimes define a lot of these automations and these flows and stuff and sometimes people kind of reference the video and stuff, but having a list of instructions that you can kind of go back to like a user manual also helps. But anyway, um so this is the second tool. This one is a very simple concept, but it really gives you the building blocks for you to turn this into whatever you want with it. And so the idea is you trigger your AI agent and you tell them either a client name or client website in the prompt, and it'll essentially create a project for you. It'll scrape a web page based on the client website that you provided before. And then it'll generate a brand overview based on the scraped web page. It'll reverse engineer the company's marketing strategy from the web page. And then it'll also extract the client information from this web page. And then from there, what it will do is it'll create a block for client information. It'll create a block for brand overview, and then create a block for marketing strategy. And then it'll add all of that into a Google Doc for you. Now, this, I mean, one of the questions I had as I was working on this, I'm like, wait, can't I already kind of do this with creating a project with AI? And to a certain extent, you can, but this is more for like standardized templates. So if you're trying to actually have your own standard template, you're trying to have all of the fields actually followed and set up and every time repeated, then you would use a flow like this and you would just prompt your agent and it would create the project and everything for you. So what we'll do is I'm actually going to save changes here. I have no idea what I changed, but I just did that. So we're going to go back here and then we're going to go to AI agents. I'm going to choose this client intake agent, do create new. And then I'm going to say, create a project for this client. And we'll do Taskade.com. And it'll be Taskade. Well, actually, we can do client website. And you can save these as commands, actually. So what you can do is you would just save a command saying something like, create a project for this client. And then it would just be this template each time. And actually, let's do that right now, just to show you how it works. So create a project for client. And then we could just put this here, create a project for this client. I'll do create, update it. Now, if I just do this, I no longer have to type this every single time. And instead, I could just add the client's details. So for example, Taskade.com. And then Taskade is obviously the client. And then once I hit enter, you should see that it says running automation. And then there's a client name, client website. If there's anything that you don't like the way it's set up or whatever, you can just change it from here. So if I wanted to put about us or whatever it is, I can do that. But yeah, I can edit it here and then I can approve it. And then since it's more AI heavy and there are a lot of creations and stuff like that, a lot of steps to it, it's going to take a bit more time to run, but it will run. So in the meantime, while that runs, and you could check the status of it, if you go to create client details, if you click on runs over here, you'll see that it's running over here. So you can see the progress. And if you ever have any issues or something doesn't go or whatever it is, you can always just copy the run ID and then send us an email and we'll be happy to help you out with it. But anyway, so once that's done, you'll have a project like this where it essentially fills out the information right here for you. It fills out the brand values, fills out the core message. And John, I'm pretty sure you can verify that some of these are very true. So
Yep.
so we can format these and change them real quick. I'm gonna just delete this extra space here. And yeah, you'll be able to essentially structure out your projects however you want and set up your template fields. And now you can just repeat it for every client process as well. And this is just me only providing a URL. It's not even actually training or updating my agent's knowledge. So if I go here and I go to add knowledge, I don't have anything specific about my AI agent or anything like that. But if I did tailor it even more, I'm pretty sure it would actually come up with an even better set up an example as well. So, yeah, that's kind of the general overview of how to use an agent tool, how to set up the automations. And honestly, one of the things that I would probably set up over here as well, if I go to automations. So, one of the things that I love using is structured output. And structured output, you basically define what you're looking for. So I tell it extract the following, and then I say brand name, industry, mission statement, and brand values. And you just whenever you go down where it says plain text, you choose structured output instead, and then you choose the type of output you want. So in this case, I'll just add a field and put text and define whatever I need. So this kind of and then these fields that you create are referenceable in other places. And a few things that I would probably retrofit this into is you can create audit reports real quick. So, for example, client wants you to create a brand audit or anything like that. You can essentially prompt it through an AI agent, and then afterwards have that AI agent create it for you, create a document, and then afterwards you can just send that over to the client if need be. For blog articles, you can do that. There's so many things you can like repurpose a blog article using these tools. Essentially, the idea is that you can prompt an AI agent with specific information, and then it can either enrich that information, supplement it, or it can use it to generate new content with it, and then afterwards use it in your workflow as well.
Someone just asked a question about how you so quickly change the titles. Was it a keyboard shortcut?
Ah, I see. What they're referring to
The
is
large letter.
Markdown.
Yeah.
So if you go to Taskade supports Markdown, and essentially with Markdown, I think what we can do is actually we can create a do we have a help center article on Taskade's Markdown. So Markdown consists of here are the Markdown languages. Oh my god, I can't type. Okay, so what? Oh, so if you want to use a checkbox, yeah, there we go. In general, it's essentially a heading and then a space. I mean, a hashtag and a space will turn it into a heading one. Two of these will turn it into a heading two. If you want to do a checkbox, you do a dash and then this. Oops. Actually, wait. I forgot how you do the checkbox. Yeah, checkbox is default, but anyway, you could just do a bullet point. You could even do. I think the one I like the most is this. Yeah, that one's a trip.
So yeah, I pasted a link for the Markdown supporting Taskade,
Hmm.
and we do have full Markdown support in chat for the team chat on the right side, as well as the comments when you add a comment into individual task. And then for the project level, there are some limitations on the Markdown support, but we're definitely working on that. And of course, when you're converting Markdown or importing it into a Taskade project, that's a whole separate thing. But you are able to fully translate that.
Yeah, yeah. So that was pretty much most of the setup that I had over here. What's the heart markdown? I just saw someone. It's basically less than and then three. So the same way that you do like a yeah. But yeah, so essentially this is a bundle, and then the cool thing about it or a kit is essentially you can just recreate this for every client, right? So let's say you have a client's workspace over here, you can just install it for a new one. Let's say I have a new client, Narek from Taskade is the client. Let's say I create this folder. Well, what I can just do is you go to that link that I provided, and you would essentially go to this bundle right here. Oops. And then I would just do install, choose for this client, and then it will show the following items have been added, installed to your workspace. And then you can visit each one of these, and then yeah, just view the space. You'll see that now I have it all in one place. I don't have to reset all of these. They're already ready to go. I
Oh
just
yeah.
have to
By the
connect.
way, every time you do this, it's crazy impressive, right? I think it's worth zooming out just to show
Yeah.
the full effect. because one of the questions even this week we got from someone on the team was, how many steps can you branch out to, or how many different columns can you actually set up
Mhm.
here? Is it two? Is it three max? Is it five max? We don't even have a limitation on this right now technically, so you could have like five different columns, right, and zoom
Yeah,
even
you
more out.
could so from what I know, the limitation per branch is 7, but the way you get around that, and hopefully the engineering team doesn't get mad at me for giving this, but, the way you get around it is essentially if you add 7 branches, let's say, when you define one of them as a fallback, so if I set this as the fallback or this is the fallback, let's say, right? I'm just gonna put custom condition instead. What you do is once you have a fallback, which is at the end, you just add another branch. And then from here, you can just continue adding more paths. And for whenever you reach another limitation, let's say this is your fallback again, then all you would do is just, again, add another branch. If you need that many like conditions, I please reach out to me. I'm very curious about what your use case is. But yeah, you can create like some very insane and complicated and complex workflows with Taskade at this point, and you can inject
I
AI into all of them.
Yeah, I think it's funny because we should actually probably even share this tip, right? Like on the help center article for branches. Um,
Yeah. I forgot who showed me. It was one of the community members. I think I saw it in their workflow and I was like, I didn't even think of that. But yeah, so, like you can go ham with this.
yeah, but I think just jumping a little bit back, on the topic. So last week we covered um, how to embed your AI agent widgets. We also covered things around the new history for AI agents on the project level, right, the top right corner.
Hmm.
And that newsletter only got sent out, yesterday, the day before. So you guys can check that out on our blog or forum, .taskade.com as well. But trying to connect that, back to this week where we're talking about building custom tools, for your AI agents, so that you can trigger them. And the reason being is that in this way, if you wanted to, let's say, create a public agent for your website, a widget, where you want your guests to interact with it and then call an actual flow within your backend, this will become possible in the near future. And that is something that we would probably introduce as an agent action. So something more reliable that can strictly call this automation flow right from the agent
Hmm.
level and give it access to even the guests, the public agent via your widget. So that's quite exciting. Another point on the automation, sorry, just to finish on the flow side
Hmm.
itself, I think it's worth showing folks that you could remove the agent trigger as well, right, for the tool, the agent trigger.
Yeah.
Or you could, by just duplicating the automation, you can duplicate it, update the trigger to something else, and now you have your same template for a different use case entirely.
Yeah. You would still need to reconfigure a couple things here and there. So like for example, if I have like if I duplicate this, let's say the create client details, um, I could just change this into instead of maybe this, I delete it and I turn it into a form.
Yep.
So from there, where I can then define the fields where it's like email or client requests, and it really just kind of depends on like where you're using it. So form, you can share these and embed them, make it external, whatever it is. Um, Whereas like agent tool is obviously limited and scoped down to like the agent chat level. So yeah, it definitely depends on like it's definitely like a good point to bring up. You could even change some of these to even make it a webhook or honestly any of these triggers right here. So yeah, that said, um, yeah, I mean, just to kind of tie it back into some of the other things is I think eventually one of the things that we're also looking into is being able to actually customize what it sends you back. So maybe having an action in the agent tool set up where or output similar to forms. So if I have a form right here, say I delete this. So a form has this configure output where you can choose what the output for the form is. I think one of the things that we're looking into is also being able to define what the output is for your AI agent in the chat over here. Because right now it just tells me the project for the client has been successfully created, and then it doesn't really give me much else. But in the future, you will most likely be able to change what it provides you with or what it responds with to you. So yeah, that's pretty much all I had on my end. I think I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for now, and then we can just kind of hop into Q&A.
Sure.
Let's see. Okay. Um, let me go through some of these. I think you already addressed most of them. Hi guys. Hi Jimmy. How are you guys? Okay. Yeah, I mean, like, if you guys have any questions, if you guys are looking at the kit, be gentle with the feedback. I spent a lot of time on it. Let's see. Okay, so we got a question right here. Quick question. Will you in the future have sign in for public agents? I'm assuming this is for gating the content or access to it, but could you expand a bit more on what you're looking for specifically? Is this so like you can restrict people accessing your agents?
And I think the other question is, is it more like a password protection feature, right? Where
Yeah.
today, when you share a Taskade project link, you have a view link, edit link, check only link, but you can also publish it, and then you can password protect it. So that is a password that anyone can access once they enter it. But if you're talking about public agent with an actual login or sign-in system connected to your own API or your own system, um, that is a bit more difficult. But password protection for like a public agents or even anything you share is a lot more realistic. Similarly, for sharing your AI kits or bundles, right? Right now you call it in Taskade,
Mhm.
would be good. Yeah, sorry, they're saying Jimmy just said yes.
Okay. Let's see. Yeah, so I think I don't know if we would like actually have the whole authentication system to it, but I think there are certain things that we might be able to take as well. I know some people have also requested like uh, limiting some of the embeds to specific domains. So essentially, whitelisting specific domains that can access it. Uh, but other than that, you might need something like content gating for it. But do me a favor, leave your feedback here. So leave your feedback at taskade.com/feedback. And essentially, we'll be able to ask you more questions. We'll be able to give you updates and on where that feature's at, and just basically communicate more about it.
Yeah, we had a good question from Bill, right? How do you highlight this, by the way, Eric?
You just click on it. It's just say show. Is it not working? Technical difficulties.
Cool. Yeah. So Bill had a good question. Do you have any real world functional automation workflows you can show us? So from the agent tool side of things, maybe Narek, you can talk about it, but from the automation side, there's a lot of things you can do. And everything from,
Yeah.
again, project management related flows, even within Taskade only, right, to things that does not even involve Taskade. Because I think we mentioned last stream, the power of Taskade automation is you can call triggers, actions, different steps, your own APIs, call webhooks, but Taskade itself doesn't even have to be a step within the automation that you create, and you just use us to manage your entire system. But I think one cool use case we're just talking about this morning, or like real world workflows, is where you can use RSS feeds as the trigger and pull information from multiple blogs, newsletters, news sites, and then using AI right in the middle to actually analyze, summarize, and then figure out different ways to process it, and then turn that into either action items right for your team within Taskade, or even just sending it out as like something of a report or kind of a digest you can think of to your team. So those are kind of very simple but very useful setups you can do. And of course, at the end, it depends on how you train your AI agents and then how you use it. The structured outputs example, we really should do a deep dive on one of these live streams. Even just looking at the possibilities,
Yeah.
it's crazy, right? Um,
Yeah, it's like there's a lot of like functionality that's like nested in Taskade's automations. And like as far as like real world functional automation workflows, there are a lot. So it's like if you can tell me more about what you want to do or essentially what you're trying to do in Tascade or another app, it becomes much easier for me to like address that question. So yeah, it's kind of like I mean, just a really simple one. I'll share my screen. I always give a really simple. I'm a fan of simplicity, but essentially, oops, let me turn this back on, then turn that off, and then so super simple one. You can train a sales agent. So you can train a sales agent, provide it with a project full of URLs to your help center articles or whatever information that you want them to access or reference. And then afterwards, you can essentially throw them into. Oops, this was the wrong one. You can quickly have them create draft responses to you for your emails. So whenever there's a new email in Gmail, you can say if it matches, let's say sales@taskade.com, have it generate an email. So I'll do structured output here. And then you could choose email body, email. So I can do something like email body. And then I could do something like subject line. And then it could create a draft email for you. And this will literally take you 5 minutes. But to actually have and set up this in other workflows will take you much longer than that because you would not only have to handle the whole training aspect of agents, but you would also have to handle not only that, but also the RAG and embeddings and all of the context. Like there's so much that goes into just this agent management aspect. And you can just literally, that's not even including the whole calling these API endpoints and tying it all together. So I just did that within like 10 minutes and that's like with breaks in between. So you can just quickly do that and then now you can just enable it and now you have AI implemented into your workflow within like 5 minutes.
yeah, I think Jimmy had a question on let me see, on database, right, connections for our AI agents.
Hmm.
So that is an interesting request because we are adding additional connections and integrations into Taskade,
Yeah.
and we're also adding additional sources for the knowledge portion, right, of the AI agents right now. So
Hmm.
when you train your AI agents right now, you can feed it dynamic links, and we crawl this links that you add at least once a day. But at the same time, when you connect it with your Taskade projects, those are trained in real time when you make updates to the projects itself. And then you have the static documents and YouTube links, so on and so forth. But
Yeah.
for database connections, that is definitely possible. So we will need to prioritize and understand the request a bit more. And then it goes back to the intervals, right, at which we put the data. Um, so that is a pretty good question. Extrinsic aviation, some comments maybe you can
Yeah.
highlight.
Well, one, let me actually just address this one real quick and then I'll get back to extrinsic aviation. Greg is basically saying were the training URLs in a project or within the agent training. So essentially, what I did is, and I got this hack from our community as well. I didn't know about this until someone else exposed me to it. But essentially, what you do is you create a project, you add all of these links into the project, and then you do the three dots and you do add to agent knowledge and you provide it to your agent. So links in the project, then you give that project to your agent. And those are updated in real time. So any newer links that you add here, you can then it's automatically added to all of your agents. And you could see who's referencing it by tapping on this, clicking on the two links over here, and you'll see the email writer and the sales rep is referencing it as knowledge. If I open it, you'll be able to see that it has the project over here. So just a quick
That's
thing on
such
that.
a good blog article.
Yeah.
It's like how to train your AI agents in bulk with bulk
Yeah,
links.
and you could actually like even hook up an automation to this. So similar to the RSS feed that you were talking about, you can just hook up an RSS feed to automatically connect and add links to this project. So it's automatically updating your agent's knowledge without you having to come and like add the link to this project specifically.
Yeah, that's why we need everyone to help build these Taskade AI kits or bundles, and then write tutorials or guides for it,
Yeah.
and then find a way to get everyone to help share. Because yeah, interestingly, you mentioned that, right? Because one of the things we're having automation for Taskade is the ability to add knowledge to your AI
Mhm.
agents as an action. But there are limitations on the maximum amount of files or knowledge in each agent. But the workaround is what you said, just train it on a project instead, and then add task to the projects to keep it updated.
Yeah. Yeah, I think let me actually okay, so let me answer extrinsic aviations questions real quick. Okay, so I have a question about a use case using this bundle. It is going to take a minute to explain. Okay, I'm trying to use Taskade to summarize my human interactions. We created one project and then added the contacts under one project. However, I would consider a project for each customer. For each customer, I want a project with the tasks in the same format, like you created, but with tasks like attach LinkedIn profile, discussion points, action. Is this a similar use case? Yeah, I think so. I think so. In that case, what you would do is so regarding the bundle. So I'm gonna go back here. So this is regarding the status report. I'm assuming, or which automation is this regarding? Because you could use it for both technically. But I'm assuming it's talking about the status report. Essentially, what you would do. So if you're trying to personalize the status report for your project, what's going to happen is you have to go to. Let me delete this. It's cluttering my screen. You're going to go back to this go to market strategy, and you could change this to whatever it is. You don't. It doesn't have to be go to market strategy. You can say contact database instead. The idea is essentially you have a project, and then within your project, you have tasks with custom fields. In this case, the custom field is a drop down type with the status for each one of these. Now, you can have one that is specifically discussion points, next action, right? You can have it actually reference multiple fields. So I could even say uh, type of task, let's say. And then, I mean, this is going to say we could do research, for example. And I can go back to the automation over here in status report. And where it says find all tasks, you can actually combine this. So I'm only searching one field where I'm only trying to find all the tasks that have in progress as a status, but I can actually search for multiple conditions at the same time. So I can search the field and I can also say, I want the, oh, wait, I have to refresh this. Let me refresh. And I also want the type of task to say research. So you can say both of these conditions have to be true, or I could say either one. So status matches in progress, or, and then you could choose the type of task is research or whatever it is. The idea is that these find all or the find tasks action is very flexible. You can cater it to exactly what you need and to find exactly whatever you're looking for in this task. And then afterwards, use that in your workflow. So I hope that answered your questions. But yes, tell me if I did well on that, if I didn't, if there's something I'm missing. More details, the better. So yeah.
Yeah, but also touching on the kits that we want to really share with the community. We definitely want to start creating, right, a lot ourselves, even kits by industry. I thought that was a great idea. But maybe we'll also start taking requests, on the kits that the community customers want, and start really sharing those, maybe even ahead of the live streams, so we come a bit more prepared with what folks are asking or looking for.
Yeah, I mean, I've mentioned it before. I lost my internet. She said I lost my internet connection. Yeah, I mean, the main thing is, I usually try to take as many requests, and if people do have requests, maybe we can even create a Taskade form for processing some of these. So defining which areas it is, and then like, yeah, I think we can create a request form for this, and then afterwards, maybe I don't know. It would be interesting to see what sort of things people come up with too.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the New Year's resolution for us as well here at Taskade 2025. Everything from taskade.com/contact. The form on that page, we're gonna dogfood our own product. In addition to the sales forms, right? Request demo form on Taskade, and I think on the events page, maybe that's where we can share this form for people to fill out before each live stream. So yeah, so it's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we also have like some channels in Discord as well. So in our Discord community, we have a few channels where people can request things too. Um, but yeah, we're like building a template library there too. So for automations, agents, kits, like all in one place. So yeah, I mean, everyone should join these communities. Taskade.com/community. So definitely join these. Uh, it's like I've learned a lot, and I know Taskade pretty well, I would say. I think it's kind of why I'm here as well. But so I know Taskade pretty well, but I'm always learning something new, and people find some of the most like creative ways to use the product, and it's so powerful that like there's so many use cases for it that sometimes it could feel overwhelming. But once you kind of get your feet in the ground, you're you start to snowball. You start to see like, okay, I can do this, I can add that. So let me see. Okay. So there's another comment here. Agents by department in a kit would be amazing. The number of prompts available are extensive, but trying to understand how to use them together simply is hard. So it seems like this might be part of AI teams in a sense, because agents in a I mean, yeah, this kind of touches onto AI teams a bit. So you can put AI agents into essentially what's kind of like a department using AI teams. So I can just go to share screen. So let's say I have a workspace, and you can create a folder for each one of these. But essentially, if I have a marketing, I can do an AI team that consists of multiple agents in my, let's say, social media department. And it can consist of my go-to-market strategist, marketer, social media manager, my ideal customer persona, or whatever agents I need for specific things. And essentially, you can have them collaborate with one another. So that's one way to go about it. But I would want to know more about what you mean by department in a kit, because it's interesting. I'm curious as to where that's going. And then let's see. Do the links in a project get re-indexed by the agent? Yeah, so it's always real time. So whenever you make changes to the project, it's the latest version is always given to the agent. So if you provide an AI agent with, if I go to projects over here and I have everything you need to know about Taskade, if I delete any one of these, it'll automatically sync up for all of these. They'll use the latest version. It's I like to make the analogy that it's like making a company wide announcement, and then everyone follows the announcement immediately. So, yeah, I guess the corporate term for that would be effective immediately. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I just mentioned the multi-site reader newsletter from a while back, but you can
Hmm.
also ask about multiple links, at the same time, yeah,
Hmm.
in a chat interface of the agents.
Yeah, and I know one use case that someone had was essentially they provided a link to all the tools that they use in their company, and then they would ask the agent for specifics about that. So it's like there are a lot of creative use cases. People come up with stuff that I'm like, I didn't even think of using it like that. But yeah. So let's see. Okay. The question is specific to when you create an agent. You can select the prompts. There are a ton of prompts available. I see. I think what you're referring to is if I go back here.
Yeah, the prompt templates library, actually, I really need to go ahead and get that prioritized to update because the one inside of the automation flow is very incomplete versus the one outside.
Yeah, I think she's referring to the create agent templates over here.
Okay.
So I think that's what she's referring to. Either that or we have so many options that it's like either that or where was the prompt library? Oh, prompt templates over here. Yeah. So I mean, what I've had some people do, and again, another use case for this, what I've had some people do is essentially they've created an agent to help create agents. So what they do instead is you create an agent and then afterwards you tell it, I need commands for, let's say, a marketer, or I need commands for this thing. And then it will actually create it for you. And then you just copy and paste those into your commands. Yeah. So each one of those prompts, I'll tell you this. Yeah. So each one of these, this is, man, I'm like looking back at this. I remember when this first came out. It was like, feels like years ago, but it really was like, what, 6 months ago? So yeah, these templates were more so prompts at the time, but we've kind of adapted and grown a lot more. So while these prompts are definitely relevant and they give you a good starting ground for it, I think the best way to go about it is actually creating agents and then storing these prompts as commands for your agent. So over here, if you do edit agent, go to commands, you can see you can now specify your own prompts over here. You can also reference it over here too. So just copy, add command, new command, and then paste. You could also just do view prompts from here and copy in there. So yeah, that's pretty much all I had on my end. Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, and I think some of these are really good ideas. And
Yeah.
Greg just mentioned tools in the company is a great idea. Um, but prompts by profession, industry, department, those are all, yeah, things that we can work on. And then simplify, right? Simplify things.
Yeah, the hardest part about any product is always simplifying. For the user, simple is always easy, but for the creator, simple is always hard. So it's like making it simple is very difficult, especially for more complicated stuff like automations as well. But I
Yeah,
think we
but
do a good job of it as much
yeah,
as
I think that's
possible.
the part where, yeah, connecting it, the way that you do it sometimes, and the more you do it, the easier it gets. But
Mhm.
for folks coming into Taskade that are new to the platform, that's what we hope to enable, right? With the AI kits or bundles idea, where
Yeah.
for everyone that understands it, they can set it up and make it one click for new people coming into our platform. Um, yeah, and then really build that out. That's the exciting part. Um,
Yeah, I mean, like, I think what we can do is definitely have a forum where we essentially have people describe what they're looking for in a kit and make it detailed enough where we can actually build out some of these things too. And yeah, then we can showcase it and maybe even turn it into a thing where whoever gives the best kit suggestion or something gets something. You get the kit build out for you.
Yeah, 100%. I think that after every live stream too, just being able to come together with some ideas for new kids to share, but also some hacks and tricks and tips, right, that we need to really get David's help updating on the help center.
David.
I think will be good.
Poor David.
It's like big backlog, yeah. Um, but
It's a good problem to have.
but yeah, no, this was awesome. Yeah,
But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. You guys are amazing. Really appreciate these. Oh, let me highlight that. You guys are amazing. Really appreciate these live sessions. Of course, you guys are even more amazing with some of the stuff that you guys come up with, Taskade. And then as far as okay, I'll respond to some of the stuff off. I know some of the comments are directed towards me, so I'll respond to those off channel. Yeah. For extrinsic aviation, I'll respond to your. I think you emailed me directly, so I'll respond back to those. She has very yeah, she has very interesting use cases. So it's gonna be interesting to talk more about that in the future. So
cool.
yeah, I think that was pretty much it. I think we can. There are any. We'll give it another minute. If there are any more questions, we'll answer them. If not, then that'll be all for
Yeah, we'll be dropping more AI kits, community created as well in the future, and then I think next week we'll make it like an official announcement on how to really set things up as well.
yeah, and then definitely check out taskade.com/events. That's where we basically have where our next stuff, all of our next live streams are going to be. And there's also taskade.com/community. Make sure to follow us there too on all of the platforms: Reddit, Discord, Telegram, Facebook group. I could have sworn I'm like missing a few at this point. Um, and then also final plug, not forever, but also do taskade.com/feedback. I respond to a lot of these. I will ask you a lot of questions. You get basically almost direct access to the engineering team. I say direct access, it's not exactly direct access, but they read these comments, they see exactly what you guys are requesting for, and they do their best. And they have been doing pretty well. So, yeah. Anyway, that's all for now. And until next time, see you guys.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Bye.